Let's see here. Just going to give it a few minutes as people start to filter in.
Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just going to give it a few minutes as more people start to filter in. Please note that we are recording, and so if you have a colleague that wasn't able to make it today, there will be a recording available. Also, we are in webinar mode, so as you can see, everyone will be muted for the presentation, and we will open up for questions towards the end, and I will have to manually unmute individuals. So just know that if you have a question, I believe you have a raise hand option that you can use. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Cynthia Wasco. I am teching this presentation. Raise the Bar Consulting, our Consulting Cafe presents a series. Today we have Remote Control, Embracing a Cloud-Based Accounting Department with Dan Tritch from your part-time controller. And I do want to give a really quick rundown, a little bit of tech. If you scroll to the bottom of your screen, you will see that there is a chat feature and there is also a Q&A feature. So if you have a formal question you would like Dan to answer that I can read, throughout the presentation, please use the Q&A option. Sometimes the questions, when they get put into the chat, if people are talking amongst themselves, can get lost. So the Q&A section will sort of help to keep those separate. So please use that option. Otherwise, you can feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the chat feature. And let's see, you don't have access to unmute or mute yourself. So that will come later in the program. And great, so let's get started. Pass it over to you, Dan.
All right, well, thank you, Cynthia. Welcome to Remote Control, Embracing a Cloud-Based Accounting Department, presented by your part-time controller in partnership with Raise the Bar. Thank you again for that great introduction, and a lot of things I was going to say, which is, this is recorded and essentially how to do the Q&A. Cynthia's already covered, so we can jump right in. All right, our goal today at a high level, we have several of them. Our learning objectives are to discuss benefits of a work from home environment for your accounting department. We're going to review prerequisites for establishing a work from home environment. It's not as easy as flicking on and off a light switch. We're going to introduce cloud-based accounting solutions and related apps that can boost efficiency. And finally, we're going to share process and policy considerations for maintaining internal controls in a cloud-based accounting department. But before we move any further, I'd just like to introduce myself really quick. My name is Daniel Tritch. I'm the manager for your part-time controller here in Phoenix. As Cynthia said, this is going to be recorded, so my contact information is here, but you don't need to go run and get your pen or pencil or type really quickly. You will be able to get a recording of this, so if you need my contact information, you will be able to get that. I will also, if Cynthia and Jennifer allow me to, I can also send copies of the slides as well. Your part-time controller, just a little bit about us before we move on. We support nonprofits. We help nonprofits of all types and sizes. We provide accounting, financial reporting, and best practice assistance, and we do it quickly, efficiently, and accurately. And we work wherever you are. We have offices all over the country: Phoenix, New York, Washington, D.C., to name a few. We have more than that. But we also, like many of you, have become very adept at working remotely, which is part of the reason we can present this webinar, right? How to move your accounting department into the cloud. That being said, you guys didn't come here to listen to a sale on your part-time controller. So let's get into why we're here. Talking about moving your accounting department to the cloud. So first of all, let's talk about, it's not like turning on a light switch, on and off a light switch. So what are the benefits? Why would you want to go through all of this work just to put your accounting department in the cloud? Well, there's a lot of benefits to moving your accounting department into the cloud so that your employees can work from home. First of all, it makes your company more attractive to potential employees. As working from home has become more prevalent, and let's be honest, over the last year, it's become universal. Employees and recruits will expect you to offer a work from home option. Furthermore, and this is a big one that I'm not sure everyone has truly grasped, if you move your accounting department to the cloud, you can expand your recruiting pool to nationwide or even international if you so want, right? You no longer have to look for that accounting talent just in Phoenix, Arizona, or wherever you may be located. You can look anywhere for that talent. I know for us, that's been a huge boom. We can go all over the country now to find that accounting talent. You can be better equipped to handle external pressures like COVID-19. COVID-19 has taught us that anything can happen and that we need to be prepared. But beyond the once a century pandemic, right? There are things that can make it very difficult for us to get to the office. Every area of the country has some version of extreme weather, right? Hurricane, a snowstorm, a flood, right? So if you're able, if you are able to move your accounting department to the cloud, those sorts of things won't get in the way as much as they typically used to, or at least historically could. You will be prepared for those moments. A work from home environment contributes to the well-being and thus productivity of employees. I always kind of laugh when companies like Walmart will go out and commission, $1 million white paper studies on what happier employees, on the benefits of happier employees, when we really know already that happier employees and employees that work from home are happier, are more loyal and more productive, right? So this is a big boon. If you can move your accounting department to the cloud, you're likely to have happier and more loyal people in your accounting department. If you're able to move your accounting department to the cloud, you can get your board the information they need to stay involved. What do I mean by that? You're able to make your information more accessible to the board so that the board can be more responsive and involved. I come from an audit background, 9 years in audit. I've presented in front of a lot of boards, and many of the boards are quiet. And the reason they're quiet is because they either haven't had enough time. Well, most of the time it's because they haven't had enough time to digest what they've seen. If you're able to move your accounting department to the cloud, they can have access to that information at any time and be more prepared to guide and provide governance to your organization. Most of us have experienced this in the last year, but if you're able to move your accounting department into the cloud, your accounting, your development, your production group, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit, can collaborate easily and across great distances. Again, you can hire talent from anywhere and they can collaborate. And finally, just overall, efficiency in the back office and working in many of these applications we reviewed today are going to make you more efficient. Efficiency in the back office means mission success. And all of us, whether we're a nonprofit or a for-profit, got into this business not to do accounting, but to accomplish a mission, right? So all of these things we're going to cover today are going to allow your employees, your accounting department, to work from home, but also to be more efficient, and that will allow your whole organization to focus on your mission. But as I mentioned, it's not like flicking on a light switch. There are some prerequisites for establishing a work from home environment. And there are definitely some things you have to have in place before you begin. So let's start here. You need to have some tech savvy or tech adaptive employees. So what do I mean by that? So tech savvy employees are those employees who could just pick up an iPad or a Samsung tablet and just get moving, right? Tech adaptive employees are those employees who are interested in technology. They may not know how to use them right away, but they're really interested and they will pick it up and try to learn themselves. And then you have tech resistant employees, right? But even if you have those types of employees, you can still move your accounting department into the cloud. There are ways to help those employees. And one of the ways that we found is pretty impactful is if your organization can implement a professional development policy that allows those tech resistant employees to spend a day, maybe 2 days a year, learning a technology, it allows them to be much more comfortable. You need an inquisitive and supportive culture. And I have a few bullet points under here, but just big picture, what you really need, if you're going to move to a decentralized environment, people need to be able to ask questions. And they need to feel comfortable asking questions. I put culture, 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 right? If your organization doesn't have a true open door policy, it's not a good time to move to the cloud, because there are going to be issues, there are going to be hiccups, and your staff needs to feel free to encounter those challenges with your help and ask questions. And finally, and this is going to be no surprise to anyone, if you're going to move to the cloud, you need a really reliable IT solution. So for some of you, that may mean using an in-house solution, but others, it may be outsourced, right? But above all, if you're going to be using computers to really house all of your work and allow your employees to work from home in the accounting department, you need to have an IT solution that they can reach out to if there are technical issues. For example, we at YPTC have an outsourced organization. If my internet weren't working or if my PowerPoint weren't working prior to this presentation, I could have called them and gotten some help. You need that ability, and you need to have a solid IT solution that you have confidence in. All right, so we've gone through the benefits of a work from home environment, and we've gone through some of the prerequisites. Let's talk about some of the accounting, some of the related apps that will help you move your accounting department to the cloud. This is the meat of our presentation. Before I start, I want to let you know that we're going to go over a lot of applications today. The point of this presentation is not to go through in depth every single app that we're going to talk about. It's really to just introduce you to the apps and to their functions so that you have an idea where to begin when you want to move your accounting department to the cloud. Before we dive into the meat of this presentation, a few caveats. We will discuss several applications in depth today. We're highlighting these applications because we believe they're helpful in establishing a work from home environment. However, there are other solutions other than those highlighted today, and you and your organization should research all possible solutions to determine which is right for you. Finally, and I should say last, but definitely not least, this is perhaps the most important point. Any work from home solution or environment should be evaluated by an IT professional for security considerations. That would be that outsourced or in-house IT solution I mentioned on the prior slide. All right, so working from home, your accounting department starter guide. All right, so I can't see any of you, but I'm sure you're skeptical, right? So let's see what we have here and see if I can get you on board to moving your accounting department into the cloud. All right, so we're going to look at cloud-based solutions for the following functions: communication tools, file storage, accounting information systems, which is your general ledger systems. You'll see we'll cover, but something like a QuickBooks Online, accounts receivable cash receipts, accounts payable cash disbursements, expense management, and finally payroll. So you can see we're going to cover quite a few transaction cycles and tools here. So we're not going to be able to spend a ton of time on them. By the end of this, you will know some resources and know some applications that you can use to move these pieces into the cloud. First of all, communication tools. And I definitely didn't want to spend a lot of time on this because over the past year, we all have gotten very familiar with these, right? We have Slack, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and GoToMeeting. I know that every single one of you is familiar with one of these, that'd be Zoom, because we are on it right now, right? So I know you've at least used it once, but I'd be willing to wager you've used it probably hundreds of times over the past year, right? What you need to consider when you're moving your accounting department to the cloud, at least with these communication tools, right, is you just need video conferencing and chat, because if so, the Zooms, the GoToMeetings, those will work just fine. If you need a full-featured collaboration tool, file storage, things like that, you'll want to go for, or in file transfer, you'll want to go for a Slack or a Microsoft Teams. One great thing is that Microsoft Teams is typically included in your Microsoft 365 subscription. So if your organization uses Microsoft 365, you probably already have access to Microsoft Teams. We at YPTC use Microsoft Teams. It's an awesome, awesome tool and a great collaboration tool for our organization. File storage, again, something that I'm willing to bet every single one of you is familiar with, right? We have cloud storage options. Most of these logos will probably be familiar to you. We have OneDrive, Dropbox, Google Drive, and Box. There are a few more things here that you need to consider when choosing a file storage system if you haven't already. But even if you have, this is something that you should go check on the ones you're currently using. First of all, your cloud storage option needs to be able, you need to be able to tailor access rights, especially when you're moving your accounting department to the cloud. Why is that? Well, you need to be able to limit which staff have access to which files. For example, not all the accounting staff should have access to the payroll registers, right? That would be a big mess for you to handle, right? So you need to make sure that you're able to tailor the access rights in whatever cloud storage solution that you pick. And that would be something that you would need your outsourced IT solution or in-house IT solution to help you with. You need to consider usability, and you're going to hear me say this quite a bit throughout this presentation. This question, is it simple enough that everyone will use it? People do not use things that are complicated or that take a lot of time to learn. That's just the reality of it. So a lot of the tools that I picked to go over today are user-friendly. So is your cloud storage solution user-friendly? Is it easy to use? Because if it's not, people may not use it. And that's a problem, right? You want them to use it. So that's something to consider as well. And finally, security. Does your cloud storage option include dual factor authentication? Does it have encryption, things like that? Again, something that your IT company should help you, evaluate, right? Because if you're going to be storing all of that sensitive accounting data in the cloud, you need to make sure it's secure. All right. My favorite accounting information systems as an accountant at heart, I love talking about these things, right? So again, something that I'm sure every single one of you guys have, but if you're looking to move into the cloud, these are some options for moving your systems into the cloud. We have QuickBooks Online, which I'm sure everyone has heard of. Xero, which is better for smaller organizations or people that just need basic bookkeeping. Intact is a much more full-featured, expensive accounting information system, but it is great. And then you have MIP Abilo, which isn't as, we're out here in Phoenix, but it's not as prevalent out here, but it's a very popular nonprofit accounting system that now has a cloud option as well, right? So all these accounting, and there's many more than this, goes without saying, there's many more cloud options out there. These are just a few that I decided to highlight. And we're going to go a little bit more in depth into QuickBooks Online. The reason being is because, well, and you'll see here that many applications connect to it, which makes for efficient work, but also it's just typically the best solution for small to medium size companies or organizations. So let's talk a little bit about QuickBooks Online. It's cloud-based, user-friendly, and cost-effective. It allows for multiple users with different access rights. There's that access rights piece, right? You don't want everybody to see everything. That's going to cause a big mess and cause issues with internal controls. And many applications connect with QuickBooks Online to automatically import transactions. And throughout this webinar, we're actually going to look at some of those applications that connect directly with QuickBooks Online and make your accounting department's work a lot easier, more efficient, and more accurate. All right. So QuickBooks Online is cloud-based, duh, right? That's why we're here. We're talking about moving our accounting department to the cloud, so your organization can work from home, right? Data is accessible to all who need access wherever they need it. You can access your accounting data in the office, on the road, and at home. There's also no more worry about backing up your data. Data is backed up automatically because it is hosted on the cloud. For those of you who use QuickBooks Desktop, you have to either manually back that up and upload that backup file onto some sort of cloud file solution, or you can sign up for an extra, you have to pay an extra fee for Desktop to back up automatically, right? So that's not true with QuickBooks Online. It just does it automatically. There is no extra fee. QuickBooks Online, there it is again, right? It's user-friendly. It's easy to use. So you're not going to have a lot of pushback from people who have to go in and use it. It's appealing. It's visually appealing. So it's not like if any of you guys, and it's a really good program, but it's not visually appealing. Great Plains, if any of you use that, it looks very much like what you would think an accounting system would look like. QuickBooks Online isn't that way. It's a lot of dashboards, and it's very easy to click and find what you need. And finally, QuickBooks Online is very cost effective, especially for you nonprofits out there. If you go through TechSoup, you can get a subscription for $75 a year for QuickBooks Online Plus. For the advanced version, it allows you to tailor access rights a little bit more, and you have 20 up to 25 users. It's only $160 a year. You can compare that to a lot of other cloud-hosted accounting information systems that are sometimes hundreds of dollars a month to thousands of dollars a month. So it's a very cost-effective solution. As I mentioned, it allows for multiple users with different access rights. This ensures that those who have access to QuickBooks Online can only see what they need to see. And here we're going to look at an example of what one of those can see. And I apologize if it's a little small, but the important thing isn't necessarily that you can really read every word on this. What I want to show you here is this is what's called a vendors and purchases access right. So this would be someone who's working in your AP system. So they would have access to enter bills from vendors. But key to this, and from an internal control standpoint, which if any of you out there receive an audit is important, you need to consider this, right? Also, if you don't receive an audit, you want to mitigate the risk of fraud in your organization or material error. So you want strong internal controls. This type of access rights can help you because this person, if you give them the access rights, can enter the bills from vendors, but they can't reconcile bank accounts or view bank registers. So this means that they couldn't enter a bill fraudulently and mess with the check after it's cut, or cut a check for that fraudulent bill and then reconcile it so that no one could find it, right? This is very important. And QuickBooks Online, especially the advanced version, allows you to tailor these access rights. The Plus version, which is only $75 a year, you have some limited customization you can do, but for the most part, they're set to this vendors and purchases and customers, and then there's a few others you can pick from. All right, the biggest reason that QuickBooks Online has become so popular is that many applications connect with QuickBooks Online to automatically import transactions. That top row, with the exception of Stamply, we're going to talk about today. Expensify, Bill.com, Gusto. There are currently, at least as of last checking, there's over 650, probably closer to 700 now, applications that can connect directly with QuickBooks Online. And that's huge because it eliminates data entry errors, and it also eliminates the work on your accounting staff, just to make sure everything is sunk up right from your AP system, from your payroll system, or your credit card management system. So this is one of the main benefits of QuickBooks Online, is that it connects with so many applications out there, many popular applications as well, probably ones that you're already using. All right, so we've gone through the accounting information system, but what about like receiving cash, right? Receiving cash, what goes into your accounting system? Well, you have invoices, right? And deposits, right? So how do you receive cash in a work from home environment with your accounting department? Well, we of course have a solution for that as well, right? There are various applications out there that can help you with your accounts receivable invoicing and cash receipts process. We have something like QuickBooks Payments. We have Bill.com, which is mostly known for their AP processes, but they have a really good accounts receivable and cash receipts application as well. We have PayPal, which many of us have used before, either in our personal or professional lives. And then we have Square, again, something most of us are familiar with, especially if you've gone to a local arts fair or something like that and bought that. They're the ones that started with those little plugins to the phone that you can swipe your credit card through. Today, we're going to talk about, though, probably no surprise, we're going to talk about QuickBooks Payments. The reason being, obviously, as I've already highlighted, QuickBooks Online, and it really is a great feature for those of you who are using any QuickBooks product or considering using any QuickBooks product. The reason it's a great feature is it has very turnkey integration. You can create customizable invoices. It has a really nice recurring invoice feature that if you're billing the same client for the same amount month after month, you can use to automatically create and send invoices. So let's see a little bit more what these features look like. So the integration is very easy for QuickBooks Online, or for QuickBooks Payments, obviously, because it is a QuickBooks product, it integrates great with QuickBooks Online. But one thing that it can do that's really nice for your accounting department, and can really alleviate a lot of the burden on them, is it can automatically match payment for invoices created in QuickBooks Online to the invoice that was used to create it. So this means that your accounting department doesn't have to go and search as payments come in and try and match them up with the invoice. This keeps your accounts receivable clean and your accounting department with less stress. Less work, more accuracy. That's what we're aiming for. I mentioned this really neat recurring invoice feature. So QuickBooks Payments allows you to create a recurring invoice. So if you're billing a customer the same amount every month or week or year, whatever it may be, whatever the period is, you can send recurring invoices, which means you never forget to invoice, which is a big deal, right? And at those bottom check marks at the bottom, you can see there's options where you can have it automatically send the email for the invoice, which is awesome, very hands-off. And finally, you can create customizable invoices. I've used other applications that you can create invoices in. There's a lot more features in some of those other applications, but the important thing about QuickBooks Payments invoices is they're clean, they're accurate, and they look really nice. So unless you're a graphic designer, you should be pretty happy with what you can do. And you can put your organization's logo on it. And then you can email these invoices to your clients, like I said, like I showed you here. Oops, excuse me, let me go backwards. You can have it send that invoice automatically through email. Okay, so we've looked at how you can receive cash, right? But what about paying your vendors? And this is by far the biggest issue we found in the post-COVID era is when really the world shut down in mid-March last year, many of our clients were saying, okay, we can figure out how to do a lot of these things, but how are we going to get the invoices, cut checks, sign checks, and review everything, right? That was a big issue. And fortunately, there are accounts payable applications out there that can help you move your accounting department to the cloud so that all that can be done from home. We have applications like Bill.com, Stamply, and AvidXchange. So Stamply is becoming more and more popular because it works primarily with QuickBooks Online. AvidXchange, I have not personally used, but I know it connects with over 150 other accounting applications. But Bill.com is the real major player in this space. So we're going to talk about Bill.com. Bill.com was pretty popular even prior to COVID, but obviously has become even more popular post-COVID, given that it allows people to run their AP department from home. So let's talk a little bit about Bill.com. It can manage both payables and receivables, though we're only going to talk about payables today. Really great features. It has lots of software integration. There's different payment options you can use. And that allows for easy documentation of approval process. And for those of you who have undergone an audit, you'll recognize how big of a deal that is. And again, I'll dive into that a little bit more. But let's talk about software integration first. So it works with both QuickBooks Desktop and the online versions. It can work with Xero, Intact, NetSuite, and many, many, many more. If you go to their website, they're pretty clear on which ones they work with, and it's just more and more by the day. Bill.com also offers payment options, right? So invoices can be set up for immediate or future payment. And ACH invites can be sent directly to vendors. What this means is there's a decreased risk for your organization of check fraud. So let me be clear on what I mean by this. So you can pay your vendors through ACH via Bill.com, or you can pay your vendors via check through Bill.com. The way Bill.com works is, for example, if you input all your invoices on a Tuesday for checks to be sent out on a Thursday, let's say it's $500 your AP run, just to keep it simple. $500 will be swept out of your account on Tuesday. And on Thursday, if you want them set on Thursday, Bill.com will actually print the checks, print a copy of the invoice, stuff it in an envelope, and send it out for you on their check stock. So what that means is that your organization's check stock is never exposed. And that's a really big deal. Being an audit for 9 years, I saw many frauds occur where check information was stolen, especially in the nonprofit space. So using Bill.com really does strengthen your internal controls, especially around your banking. So it's definitely something to consider. Even if you're not looking for a work from home environment necessarily, Bill.com is a really good internal control. And we'll go into that a little bit more here later. Actually, we'll talk a little bit now, and I'll talk a little bit about at the end about how important it is, how this work from home environment can actually improve your internal controls. All right, so Bill.com has an automatic audit trail, which is great, right? So Bill.com works by having your AP person put in the invoice electronically. There will be a PDF, they'll code it, they'll put in the date, the amount, put in any notes. And once they put in that invoice, whoever's next in line in the approval workflow will get an email saying, hey, there's a bill for you to approve. They have to log in, review all the information, and approve it. All of this process is completely customizable. So you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 approvals, even more than that. And it's completely remote. This isn't, no papers going back and forth. You don't have to FedEx a big pile of paper to get someone to put their signature on it. This is all entirely electronic. The approval process then is automatically documented in detail. There's timestamps for when it was input, when it was approved, when the check was sent out, right? This is extremely important for those of you who get an audit, right? It makes the audit process much easier because if you've ever undergone an audit, you remember they really come out twice a year at a minimum, right? They come out for their planning, which is when they do their internal control walkthroughs. And they say, hey, let's walk through your process. Well, your AP process is already automatically documented in bill.com. It makes that process so much easier, right? But where the rubber really meets the road with bill.com and audits is that, again, those of you who've been through an audit can attest to this. It takes a lot of time to pull all of the support that the auditors want. For the AP side, if you have bill.com, everything is stored electronically. So when the auditors come out and give you a list of 100 invoices to pull, you can hand it back to them with a login to bill.com and say, pull it yourself. And honestly, as a former auditor, I would have loved that because that gives me access to everything I need and I don't even need to bother the client, right? So no more pulling invoices. Bill.com is almost worth the money for that fact alone. But in reality, bill.com is one of these apps, and most of these apps we cover today are going to fall into this category, but it actually improves your internal controls. It improves your processes and procedures. So it's something to consider, again, even if you're not moving your entire accounting department to the cloud. Okay, so we've gone through communication tools, file storage, how to send invoices and accept money, how to enter vendor invoices and pay, right? But what about those pesky credit card reports, right? Most organizations we work with have some sort of organizational credit card, right? And again, I can go back to my experience as an auditor. I would say that the credit card process was the most rife with fraud. So if you're considering, or if you already have a credit card, and if you have a debit card, you need to change that to a credit card right now. But if you already have a credit card, you really should consider implementing one of these applications here, because it's really going to help the process and make sure that the appropriate personnel are reviewing the credit card expenses. So we have Expensify, which is a major player here in the field. We have Tally, which fewer people know about, but it is a really good application. And we have Concur. Concur is much more popular with organizations that have a lot of travel. It's a good credit card expense management solution, but Concur is really great if you have a lot of travel because you can actually book your travel directly through the application. By far, the biggest player in this space is Expensify. And Expensify is also one of those, as you saw in one of my previous slides, it's also one of those applications that works really well with QuickBooks Online. So let's talk about Expensify. Expensify has a very user-friendly mobile app. There's that phrase again, user-friendly. People will use it because it's simple to use. Key. It has a really nice receipt scanning app, and you'll see a picture of that coming up here. It has approval workflows, much like bill.com, which means your internal controls are going to be strengthened because the right people are going to be approving all of the credit card expenses. And it also has automatic accounting sync with QuickBooks Online and other accounting information systems. And then again, you have that paperless audit trail, which is just excellent to have, especially when the auditors come back to your office. All right, so I mentioned it has a user-friendly app. You can see a picture here, and I'm sorry if it's a little small. I do apologize. It was about as big as I could make it. But what you're seeing here is someone taking a picture of a receipt for a meal at a restaurant called Bread and Cocoa. And you can see a little green line down there. It says Smart Scanning. What the app is doing is it's actually reading the name of the vendor, the date, the amount, and it can actually identify the last 4 of the card used. So what that means is it will know if you used an organizational card and if you're just submitting it for an expense report, or whether you used a personal card and you actually want a reimbursement for that particular expense. It's pretty slick. But it reads all that information for you. It inputs it into Expensify. And then really after you take a picture of that receipt, all that's left for the person who made the expenditure to do is take some notes and then code it. It actually syncs up with QuickBooks Online and other systems so that they can actually pick the correct expense account for it to go to. Once they do that on the right-hand side, you can see at the top right, submit report. They'll click submit report and it goes into the workflow process. So no more keeping all those receipts, right? You just have to take a picture, code it, and then you're done. Once they hit submit report, it goes into the expense workflow, right? So in this scenario, someone submits some reimbursable or non-reimbursable expenses from their credit card. So the employee submits it, then it goes to approver 1. If you so wish, approver 2. And if you're a glutton for punishment, approver 3, right? After everyone has approved the report, let's say there's some reimbursements, you can actually have Expensify reimbursed through traditional ACH or a check. And then all of this information, including including the picture of the receipt, as well as the coding, is exported directly to your accounting information system, which for example purposes, I'm just putting QuickBooks Online here. If you're an organization that has a lot of credit card expenses, this sort of thing like Expensify or even a Tally, this will save your organization quite a bit of time in terms of following up on receipts, coding them, entering them. I always like to say that organizations underestimate the amount of time they spend on credit cards. And I think once we walk through the whole process with organizations, they start to see that. I mean, just hunting down people for expense reports can take a ton of time. And that's just assuming even if you have maybe 5 to 10 transactions a month, it can take a lot of time to hunt people down for those things. But if you're one of those organizations that uses credit cards a lot, this is a game changer for you. And as I mentioned here, Expensify has a really full-featured accounting sync. So all of this information goes straight to, again, for example purposes, QuickBooks Online, but you can see some examples of other accounting information systems it syncs with. So this saves a lot of time for your accounting department. It improves accuracy, it creates an instant audit trail, and it reduces paperwork required for the audit because all the information is either in Expensify or in QuickBooks Online, which is a big deal. Again, like I said, it reduces the paperwork, but it also reduces paperwork within your organization, not just for the audit, because absent something like this, a lot of our organizations, like Expensify, a lot of our organizations have been literally still doing, paper receipts and paper expense reports and FedExing it back and forth. This really eliminates the need to do that and makes your credit card process a lot more secure. All right, the last application suite I want to cover is payroll solutions, right? People don't, as much as we would like, people don't work for free, right? So we need to figure out a way to pay them when we're working from home, right? So we have Gusto, which is really good for smaller to mid-sized organizations. QuickBooks Online Payroll, I know QuickBooks has a product for everything, right? JustWorks, Paychecks, and of course the major player in the payroll industry, ADP, right? So I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you here. I'm not going to highlight QuickBooks Payroll. I'm actually going to highlight a company called Gusto, right? And I will tell you why I'm going to highlight Gusto, because Gusto is user-friendly. It's also cost-effective, but the main thing is it's user-friendly. Everyone I've known that uses Gusto really loves it. The employees like to log in. They don't mind going in and changing their information when they have to, maybe once or twice a year, because it's really cutesy. It's very easy to use. It has excellent QuickBooks Online integration, but it integrates with other accounting information systems as well. It has a time tracking feature, which you can use if you're an organization that tracks by department, or if you're a nonprofit that needs to allocate payroll costs across different programs, you can use that feature as well. So Gusto is user-friendly. It has a clean, user-friendly interface. Like I said, a tool that is pleasant to use is a tool that your employees will actually use, which is important, right? What's the point of having this nice shiny new tool if people aren't going to use it? And it's cheaper than most options for small employers. You can see over to the left here, kind of a little example of what their interface looks like. Very easy, very clean to navigate. So again, and you can see that gang's all here. Everything they do is super cutesy. But last time I used it, when I was actually paid through it, it had a little pig that said, that would announce when you got paid. It was really nice. So people don't mind using it, which is important. It has excellent QuickBooks Online integration. So you can map your payroll information to your QuickBooks Online chart of accounts, which is really important. And you can automatically sync your payroll entries to QuickBooks Online, which saves your accounting department a ton of time. And if people are going to be working from home, they don't want to be messing with a bunch of paper payroll registers. Gusto can sync automatically and make sure that all your entries get in timely and accurately. No more manual entries. That may not mean a lot to you if you're not the one making them, but for those who are making those manual entries, that's a big cheer. They're throwing up confetti for that one. And finally, Gusto offers time tracking with T-Sheets, which of course is a QuickBooks product, right? But it makes remotely managing your staff a breeze. So you can have them do timesheets remotely. If you want your accounting department to do that, you can allocate resources based on daily timesheets. And then you can also code to different departments or various projects or programs if you would like. So Gusto has that feature as well. If you really need to get granular with your allocations, Gusto will work for some small organizations, but if you really need to get granular, you may need to go to like an ADP or a larger organization that can help you with that sort of thing, because Gusto is a bit limited if you're a larger organization that needs to allocate, let's say, salaries across 10 to 15 programs. So just something to consider. All right, so we've gone through all of these applications, right? But there are process and policy considerations for maintaining internal controls when you switch your accounting department to a work from home environment. So working from home, impact on internal controls. Yes, internal controls. I can't see you, but I'm sure you're rolling your eyes, right? Internal controls can be a boring topic for most, but they are important, right? They mitigate the risk of fraud and error. And none of us want our organizations to end up on the front page for the wrong reason, right? So that usually convinces people to listen to me. So I'll try and make this brief. What are the internal control considerations of remote work? Okay, so first of all, internal control definition. An interlocking set of procedures dedicated primarily to safeguarding assets and minimizing errors, i.e., right, preventing fraud and making sure that your books are accurate, right? So working from home presents both challenges and opportunities when it comes to maintaining internal controls. I've mentioned a few of the internal control benefits of these applications already, so we'll go through a few more, but there are challenges as well, right? So important considerations. Policies and procedures become even more critical in a remote environment. Policies and procedures should be written, right? And they should outline proper segregation of duties for all transaction cycles, but especially your accounts receivable cash receipts, your accounts payable cash disbursements, and your payroll. So for those of you who have a policies and procedures manual that may be at your desk at your office you haven't been at in a year and it's collecting dust, maybe time to pick that up, dust it off, and revise it a bit, right? Because if you're going to be moving your accounting department to the cloud, some things are going to need to change and you're going to need to document that. So I'm not going to go, this has a lot of text, so I'm not going to go through all of this. This is more for you all to consider as you're trying to move your accounting department to the cloud, right? So one thing I'd highlight here, though, is the segregation of duties aspect, that second one down, right? So a lot of these, especially Bill.com, Expensify, QuickBooks Online, they can really help you achieve that division of responsibilities that the auditors are looking for and that your board and management should expect, right? So you can see down here in the second asterisk, I put payment approvals made by those independent of the AP function. And that's important. You want to make sure that and again, that's just one example, but the people who are approving the payment shouldn't be those who have access to the AP module, right? And as I already highlighted, QuickBooks Online allows you to do that very easily by setting the vendors and purchases option for your accountant, right? So a lot of these applications will make achieving a improved internal control environment a lot easier. So like I said, many of these apps improve internal controls, right? So improving the approval process, Bill.com and Expensify really help with that. I always like to say, especially when I was an auditor, right? If I needed to see an approval for an invoice for my internal control walkthrough, I would expect to see typically a hard copy of the invoice with a signature and a date scrolled on there, right? But anyone could have signed that, and anyone could have dated that at any time, really, right? The thing with Bill.com and Expensify is it's very difficult to fraudulently approve anything because it's electronic. They would need a username, password, and if you're setting up dual factor authentication, they would also need access to the approver's phone, right? So this makes the approval process of invoices and credit card reports extremely secure. QuickBooks Online requiring custom access rights to be set is very important. We just went over the AP example. And securing sensitive documents in the cloud with Gusto, right? Again, you'll want your IT solution to go through the security piece, right? But having the HR documents in the cloud is much more safe than having them on the desk that you may or may not forget to lock at night, right? These are important. This is important information to your employees. So securing it in the cloud is a great way to keep it more secure. All right, summary. And it looks like I'm looking at my watch. I'm kind of right on time here. So I included these slides not because I wanted to go through them one by one, but I put considerations by function. So what to consider about your communication tools, your file storage, your accounting information system, your receivables, and so on and so forth. Again, I will send Cynthia and Jennifer copies of these slides so that you can have them if you are indeed considering moving your accounting department to the cloud, so that you have them kind of as a guide moving forward. And again, I actually summarize here what each of these applications that we went through is used for. So hopefully it will be a nice cheat sheet for you guys when you guys decide to move to the cloud, which I really hope you're considering doing. So let's go through our learning objectives really quick, just to make sure we hit them all. Discuss benefits of a work from home environment for your accounting department. I think we did that. We reviewed prerequisites for establishing a work from home environment. We introduced cloud-based accounting solutions and related apps, many of those. And we shared process and policy considerations for maintaining internal controls in a cloud-based accounting department. I think we hit them all. So at this point, Cynthia, I will open it up to questions if there are any.
Great. So I don't see any in the formal question and answer, but if anyone would like to ask a question to Dan, feel free to raise your hand and I will unmute you. Does anyone have any questions?
Guess I was just that thorough.
No? Okay, well. Oh, wait, something's coming through the chat. Okay, here we go. Well, yes, yeah, Catherine says you were a good job and thank you.
So I see it now. I can see the chat.
Okay,
now.
you see the chat. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So what are some success? I mean, honestly, BJ, I would say, so when COVID hit, we were, for a lot of our clients, the accounting department, and within, I say 2 weeks because it was the majority of them, but I would say for sure 4 weeks, we moved every single one of our clients to the cloud. And it has been so successful that even post-vaccination, most of our clients are saying, we don't even need you to come into our office anymore. So it has been that successful for us. I think there are some who are a little bit old school. So they really want to, in particular, see us in the office and know what we're doing. And I would say the challenge there is that they want a little bit more communication than maybe a Microsoft Teams or Zoom could provide. They like the feeling of, their accountants, whether it be us or someone internal, walking in the door and saying, knocking on their door and saying, hey, here's what I'm up to today. Let me know if you have any questions, right? So I would say communication has been the biggest challenge. And I'm sure many people would say the same thing post-COVID. But I would say communication has been the biggest challenge because there are so many tools out there that it is absolutely possible to run your accounting department from home. It's just whether you want to go and search for those options out there and put in the time necessary to make it worth it. And really it is worth. But I would say definitely the biggest challenge is communication. Any other questions? And Cynthia, if I provide a PDF, would you mind forwarding it on to the attendees?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
We
awesome.
actually have, we do have a planned sort of thank you follow-up email. So if you want to send me that today, we can add it.
I'll do it right now. I'll just
Yeah.
put it to PDF.
All right. So if nobody has any other questions, I do want to address the fact that Jennifer is not on this call. I was going to in the beginning and then realized, well, maybe she'll be able to pop in. So she's having some serious internet technical difficulties. So she was on for some of the presentation, then she got kicked off again. So she apologizes for not being here. And I'm actually going to just read this text because I think there's some things that she would like me to address the attendees. And
Sure.
so let me see. Okay, so she does look forward to seeing you all at the next one. She does apologize. Do want to just remind people that this is a part of a larger series, and to keep an eye out for I think our next one will be May 6th. And that's going to be on Google, all things Google. So if you're interested, please definitely register for that.
I'll go to that.
Yeah. And I just want to say, thank you for following Raise the Bar consulting. We offer, we do offer some grant writing, leadership transitions for nonprofits, interim executive director, CEO options as well. So if you'd like to learn more about what Raise the Bar offers, please visit us at raisethebarconsulting.com. And we love offering these kind of series. So if you have any other, as this series continues, if you have any other topics that you would like to see, please let us know. You can send us an email at success@raisethebarllc.com. And yeah, send those ideas our way because we'd love to continue it for sure. Let's see, I think that is all. So thank you again for attending. Thank you, Dan, for being the first to present for us. And look out for this recording if you'd like to share it with any colleagues and friends. Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.